Hello and welcome to another episode of Property-Pxrn Stars, the premium property podcast brought to you by your hosts David Lindley.
And I'm Matt Giggs.
And today our guest, our star, is none other than James Skudder from the Country Living Group over in Pembrokeshire. Now today, James is very interesting and he's got lots to talk to us about, but he's actually joining us virtually over Zoom. It's got nothing to do with the fact that he is all the way over in Pembrokeshire and it's a four-hour journey over to London. It's actually the fact that he's so disgracefully handsome that it's not going to do any good for me.
We banned him from the studios. We banned him from the studios today.
The further away you are from us, the better, I think, mate.
There's no chance of me getting a beard like that, guys. Welcome.
No, welcome. So, James, there's lots for us to talk to you about today, and but I think maybe the best place to start is if we talk about your journey into a estate agency and what's led you to creating the Country Living Group and what that looks like for you today as it stands.
Yeah, of course. So I've been in the industry for 20 years now, which is a long time, really. I mean, I find it very hard to come across people who've got that much industry experience, and certainly a lot of the agents that I deal with in my area, very new to the game. So yeah, my story is very simple, really. I mean, I came from school, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was quite lucky at the time that I came from school that they were, experts in the sort of field of sort of advising which route I wanted to go down. I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know, which direction I wanted to go. And, I went to a careers office one day and ended up sort of talking about my journey of wanting to work. And they kind of guided me in a path of sort of sales. And originally my journey was going into the sort of car sales route because I had a passion for, cars. And that was the only thing I really seemed to have a passion for. So at the time they were trying to place me within a car garage locally, but unfortunately there was no positions. And they approached me one day to say that we haven't got any positions within the sort of car industry. However, have you ever considered a estate agency? And at the time, I was very open to anything, really. I just wanted to kind of, start a journey or a path into one direction or the other. So yeah, I went for an interview at a local estate agents, and on the day that I went there was two of us that was due to have the interview. The other person didn't turn up, so luckily I was fast-tracked in. But I started my journey in the rental department. I started at the bottom, and I was doing rental inspections and that sort of thing. And I slowly was phasing into the sales department. And my predecessor, Dominic, who sort of saw something in me, tried to transition me across into the sales department. And slowly, I kind of transitioned from rentals into sales, and then started an NVQ, and quickly, I was thrust into the sales department, really. So, and that that I enjoyed a lot more. And my career, I've gone through being negotiators, trading negotiators, senior sales negotiator. Then I was managing departments, and before you knew it, I'd been in the industry for 10 years, and still in my mid-20s. So it kind of feels like it's happened quite quickly, but over the past 20 years, it's been a hell of a roller coaster ride.
And so coming from the point when you set up Country Living Group, then so you were doing your own thing, you were out there for the first time under your own steam, so to speak, and you could have done anything within the industry. But is it fair to say that you've positioned yourself and your business in the premium marketplace in Pembrokeshire? Yeah,
100%. So, I mean, initially, obviously, so the first 10 years of my career was rental department, sales department, but more of a core sales up to, the value levels weren't more than, $500,000. So, the luxury, market for me wasn't anything that I'd ever experienced before, but I did 10 years straight in the industry. And I think what happened was I burnt out. It went right through my 20s, and, whereas a lot of my pals were, partying, I was grafting away, but I think I sort of burnt out after about 10 years. And I ended up taking a year out. And during that year, I kind of realized what I enjoyed doing. I kind of refocused on where I wanted to sort of take myself. And yeah, the luxury market was something that came to me by just chance, really. There was an opportunity that came up with Fine & Country within the core brand I was working at, and it was a scary jump because it was nothing I'd ever been involved with before. But the second I went into it, I absolutely loved it. I got a passion for luxury now, and it's what drives my energy. So I kind of over the last 10 years or so, I've made that my passion my paycheck, as they say. So luxury just seems like second nature to me. So that market, when I launched Country Living Group, most people will sort of see it as a daunting thing going from paid salary job, but going into having your own creative freedom and being able to just channel the passion. It was not easier for me, but obviously you got to back yourself 100%. And it was nice to be able to put my thoughts and creativity into working for my clients and bringing the value to them. So it was very difficult to try and come up with a brand that obviously was going to compete with others in the luxury agency, because naturally it's a very, very competitive market. But there was a massive gap in the market that I went into, which a lot of what we do is video, and that has allowed me to kind of stand out from a lot of the competition, and it's kind of, I would say, leapfrogged me really into the position I am. Within we've been going 3 years now. So we've made a lot of ground up in the 3 years, but you've got to find, you've got to find a niche and just work at it, and that's where we are.
Was it daunting when, but let me put it this way: were you tempted at all when you started the business to go, actually, maybe I'll be a bit of everything, a bit of all things to all men. I'll deal with some resi properties, I'll deal with some high-end stock as well. Were you thinking to yourself, I've got to pay the bills, this is going to be too much of a niche market for me to completely dive into solely? Talk us through that mindset and how you made the decision you did.
Yeah, 100%. So when I left Fine & Country, I left, I set up the business behind the scenes. I was putting the branding together. And then within the first month of me launching, we went into lockdown. So I'd gone from, a salary job, I had children to provide for, I had a mortgage to pay, I had cars to run. Suddenly I thought to myself, I'd be begging for my job back, because I just didn't know which way it was going to go. The market had completely shut down. You couldn't operate. So yeah, it was very easy at that stage to think, I'll take that on, because you've got to pay the bills. You've got to churn over the sort of income. But I suppose I had to stay focused on what I was doing and the market I was going into, and what it allowed me to do was, sort of 6 months into launching the Country Living Group, we have actually launched a sort of core brand agency which caters for the lower end of the market, which now means that we can cater for the whole market sector. So Country Living Group predominantly is 500,000 upwards, and then our core brand Pembrokeshire Properties then caters for that more of the core brand agency then.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had the two brands working
together. Yeah.
And did you set up that second core brand after the Country Living Group because you had demand for that, or did you do them both at the same time? What happened?
Yeah, so we launched Country Living Group, and then within 6 months, and so because I've been in the industry for quite some time, a lot of my clients who were buying high-end property were looking to offload, smaller assets. At the time, they were wanting me to handle the sales for them, but the problem I had was, obviously I'd create a luxury brand with the sort of marketing style, and if somebody was giving me a terrace house, it was impossible for me to be able to put my brand and styling on it. So I was getting to the stage where I was turning down so much business that it was just, I had to do something. So that's where that was formed, basically.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that before you just said it then. I even listened to the podcast you did with Simon Gates. Maybe I missed it. I wasn't listening hard.
Oh, don't worry.
Just tell me why you didn't think, I can put all this under the Country Living Group, be it a resi property, be it a £1 million one-off home in Pembrokeshire. What differentiates the two in your mind and your customer's mind? Why did you do that? Why did you feel the need to differentiate the two brands?
When we were launching the Country Living Group, the vision I had was obviously to bring value to my clients. It was never a case of taking on as much as I could get my hands on, because I think estate agency is a stressful business. In the industry as a whole, when you buy and sell property, there's a lot of people who will come out of it, worst person, hating the process and reluctantly ever wanting to sell. So I was always trying to create something where I took that stress away, but part of that would require me to put more time into bringing value to my clients. So I think our niche as well at the moment is the fact that we work with a small amount of clients that I can spend more time with them, so that that service level doesn't drop. So that was a massive part of making sure that the brands didn't mix. But it is very easy. We do have some properties that are crossover, because you get some really nice properties between 400, 500, 600 plus. So, but for us, we always offer the option for clients to go one way or the other, but we just try and make it more, not affordable, but from an expense point of view, naturally a more expensive property, with more elements to it can be a harder sell. So naturally you have to put more of a structure in place, more of a strategy over a sort of 12-week period. Whereas, some lower end core brand properties, they tend to sell themselves a little bit, so you can launch something, which is easier to sort of find your buyer in the sort of core brand market. Whereas, the high end, it's not unusual for properties to be on the market for six to 12 months, pre-COVID. So, you have to work that a little bit longer. So yeah, it's just we give clients the opportunity basically, but it can be easy to say yes to everything, but we have to try and keep that quality between the two.
What I picked up, and David talks a lot about brand and more like the mechanics and the technical stuff. I'm really into the people side, James, and I heard you mention a word, burnout, earlier. And I think there's probably a lot of people that are going to be listening to this right now that are probably dealing in the volume market.
Yeah.
Perhaps feeling the same, and the expectations and the volume and the demands, not only in and out, but outside of office hours, the expectations that come in and out of that process, whether you're in WhatsApp groups with your vendors, whether you've got text messages coming in when you're on holiday. There's a huge amount of pressure in the volume model as well. And what's interesting, I see a lot of good people probably have left the industry because they haven't seen another route forward, yet they've got what I'd consider to be the core skills to work in the premium market. What was it that took you from burnout to, I'm going to really focus in this place in the market that you've gone into?
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to a lot of people in the industry, and anybody that sits here and says that it's easy, it's really not. I mean, I would probably say, for 99% of people, it will break them completely. I mean, I've been in the industry a long time, and I've seen a tremendous amount of people come and go, and
too many, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy. But I don't think a lot of people from the outset will see that, what goes into the day-to-day of, not just, pre-market, mid-market, post-market, managing expectation. It's such a difficult thing. And I think estate agency has changed hugely over the last 5 years. And especially since COVID's come along, I think a lot of people have that expectation of the property needs to sell overnight. If it doesn't, why isn't it? So you're having to manage that expectation of, what you're doing for your money. So I think a lot of people see the glitz and the glam from the outside, and there's a lot of agents who are, far more successful than I am that, I look at them and, I think it's easy to cast the sort of thought that, it is easier than it is. But once you get into the industry, you have to work out that, not all business is good business, and it's about, working with the people who want to work with you. So, I make sure that the quality of the clients we work with, has to be, spot on with, our core values, because at the end of the day, you're managing expectation. We've got clients who've never moved, 30, 40 years in a property. And naturally, I do joke, but on my business card, I do say that I should be a psychiatrist, stroke estate agent, because that's the way it's gone. You're having to, really become a friend, more than a sort of, a contact at work, and it's dealing with emotions, dealing with stress. So that the industry is very fast paced, and it'll eat you up and chew you and spit you out before you know it. So you've got to have rhino skin with it for sure. I mean, you probably see that a lot in in the industry. It's a very competitive place, and more so now with the way the sort of self-employment is expanding. It's growing so quickly.
It's an emotional industry to work in, to be a part of, to manage.
Yeah.
And the best agents that I work with are always constantly working on themselves, because as you've quite rightly said, you need resilience. You're going to have, at the minute, in any estate agency, they'll be lying if they challenge this. You feel like you're moving a step forward 1 minute, and then you're 2 steps back the next. So you've got to have this kind of bulletproof mentality, this resilience, which hasn't been created in the last 3 years. Because in the last 3 years, the market's gone from booking people in to view a house which they're going to buy, to booking people into a property that they're going to view, and they're going to go, well, I might just look at some more and take a little bit longer to find. So the challenges and the expectations are becoming far more difficult or challenging to manage, should we say. But how do you manage your mindset, James? Because immediately from speaking to you off camera to seeing what you've achieved online, I've been watching you from a distance. How do you manage your own mindset? So you go from burning out to feeling clearer, to feeling more focused on what you want to be doing, and clearly enjoying it at the same time. You don't look like you're burning out. You look immaculate from the other side of the screen. But that's quite important. I think energy is so infectious in this industry, and if you've got low energy, it also spreads the other way.
Yeah, you're a product of what you put in, comes out. So, it's a reflection of the efforts you put in. So yeah, 100%. It's really difficult. It's impossible to find the right balance. I mean, I'm of the mindset that you have to have very difficult conversations with clients. So nothing is easy. And if you go into it thinking it's going to be easy, again, you'll find out very quickly. And that's why you see such a turnover of staff in the estate agency world. It is difficult, it really is. I mean, I suppose because I've got a bit more experience behind me, I've been through, tougher markets. I've been through, the boom in 2007, so I came off the back of that. I've worked through the recession. So for me, it's just about adapting to the market that's out there. Obviously, if it gets tougher, you've got to have tougher conversations, but, you have to outwork your competition. You've got to be the one that is putting the quality out there, and I listened to a good podcast the other day that says if you act to be number one, you need to act like you're number two, so you've constantly got to keep pumping the quality in the other side. But it's very difficult to find that balance. But I work with good people, and I'm only as good as the team around me. So yeah, it's about basics, really, putting the hard work in, concentrating on the basics. The estate agency isn't rocket science, but you've just got to have consistency, discipline. And most successful agents will tell you the same thing.
On that note there, so you were talking about the two brands that you have. So a couple of questions. The first question is, are you running both of those, or are you very much the face of Country Living Group, the more premium of the two brands? And then related to that, in terms of how you manage your working week, do you limit the number of properties that you take on? How selective are you, especially in the premium market?
Yeah, so I've got a colleague that runs the sort of core brand agency for me, and he's always operated in that sort of core brand value range. So for me, we meet daily. We put goals in place. We make sure he's disciplined with his structure so that becomes a well-oiled ship, and I don't have to be too involved. Obviously, there's going to be certain situations where clients who've dealt with me for a long time might only want to deal with myself. So there are instances where I do get involved, but yeah, I try to advise and mentor and I kind of put the right steps in place for that to do well, and they've been going for 2.5 years now, and they're one of the competing agents for market share and dominance, so they're doing really well. But the Country Living Group, I try and focus my energy on that solely, really, but it's because I only operate in the sort of quality market, the sort of luxury market. I've got to be careful that I don't get sucked back into that. I mean, if somebody asked me to value a mid-terrace house, I'd struggle. I really would, because it's not my forte, really. So I make sure I have the right people to put in the right place to take on the jobs and do the things that I'm not that good at. So yeah, it's the team is a big part of it, but it's a challenge.
How much of your decision making's been around what you want to be doing? So in other words, the particular area of the market that you're working on, how much of you coming away from the core brand or the core market as such is to do with the kind of value that you want to bring in that higher end? Because it just feels to me like you've gone on this career path, and you've just realised as you've gone through your career path with experience that you've got more to offer the higher end of the market. It's possibly an end of the market that's going to suit your skill set and experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just enjoy what I do, and I think that massively helps. I mean, I try not to look back, but as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, working with the right clients, there's going to be peaks and troughs, but the market for us in the area we operate, over the past 20 years has only gone one direction, and that's up, and that's going through everything from Brexit, wars, a health pandemic, which is predominantly had or could have had a huge impact on property prices. It's only driven the market one way. So yeah, I massively enjoy what I do, and I think when I got to that stage of having burnout, Matt, I mean, I fell out of love with it, so I needed that time away to kind of realize what I was good at, and I love the hustle and bustle of it. I love meeting new people. I love creating relationships. For us now, it's about creating clients for life, so people who buy and sell, naturally over my 20-year career, I've dealt with people 3 or 4 times over. So the care package and what we've built around looking after those clients. It's really important to me. But the second I don't enjoy what I do, I mean, maybe I'll question which direction I go from there.
Well, just quickly before you move on, what's been your best sale or most enjoyable sale this year so far? We're in October now, so
I'd probably say for some pinch yourself moment. So for 3 years into the journey we're at the moment, we hold one of the record sales for a most expensive residential sale in Pembrokeshire. But we also have just sold a property which is also one of the record sales within Carmarthenshire. So for an agent that's fresh to the scene for first 3 years to be able to do that, we sold our first property north of 2 million this year, which was a goal that I set back in January when we put our goals and our targets together. That was a goal that we wanted to try and do, is smash that £2 million market. And for the postcode areas we operate in, it's a very, very tough marketplace. So that for me has been a massive highlight. But it kind of reinforces that what we're doing, we're moving in the right direction. When we launched, we went from selling properties, 300,000-400,000, and we've got properties on our books at 4 million. So the transition has been unbelievable, and it kind of steadies that I'm on the right path, really.
Tell me about that £2 million one, the one that you was referring to just then. How did that come about? Would you mind me asking that?
Yeah, of course. So funny enough, it was marketed with another agent, and I kept in touch with them. We do a lot with direct mail. So for us as an agent coming new onto the scene, you have to be able to make sure that you're targeting stock that isn't selling. We have a unique brand and a unique marketing style that I rave that there's no other agent out there that can put the production in place that we do. So if a property is beautiful and I want to represent it, and the agent isn't doing the job, then we target. We send some direct mail letters out. We do a lot of door knocking, but it's I want to make sure that I'm on somebody's shopping list so I can get in front of them to have that conversation, to showcase what we can do. And then naturally, obviously, if they don't pick me, it's just I've got enough experience and thick skin that if I don't win that instruction, that's down to my processes and making sure that I improve and I'm on to the next then. But yeah, that was one that was on with another agent that we just kept in touch with, direct mail. And I think the lady said that I'd written to her 3 times by the time she even invited me through the door. So persistency helps, and consistency and discipline with making sure that your processes are in place will help. I can vouch for that.
It's a really interesting point, actually, because in the world we live in, we only ever see certain parts of a business's marketing effort, I think. So we would see, if we're connected on social media, we would see all of the videography that you do, and I want to talk about that in a minute. Underneath that goes a whole raft of, from what you're saying there, direct mail, offline marketing that you're doing. Talk to me about that, about the proportion that goes into each side, your online marketing, your offline marketing. What do you do that's physical? And then we'll get onto the digital stuff afterwards as well. I'm interested in that.
Through a lot of my estate agency career, I've always been based in a high street office where, naturally people come in, they sit down, they waste your time for half an hour, 45 minutes, they go out, they take a load of window, details with them that they're never going to come back to and use. So now what we've done is we've moved our office into an industrial estate. So it's very private. It's invite only. Our clients can park outside the door. I can have a cup of coffee waiting for them. And it's very much that experience around what we do that starts that process off. But for me, I just stick to the basics, and I've learned this off other people through the industry. And it's, we manage our vendors well. We manage our buyers very well. We prospect, we make that, very disciplined and consistent around that. But we also sales chase, and we make that, as part of the process as well. So those 4 key things, if you can get disciplined and consistent with those things, the rest naturally will take care of itself. But the video element and everything that we see out there, I use that as my shop window to get noticed. But behind the scenes, we do a lot, pre-valuation, mid-valuation, post-valuation. There's a lot that goes into the back end of it. So quarterly and weekly, monthly, we put campaigns in place, whether that's door knocking or direct mail. There's a selection of tools that we have, but these are things that are all new to me coming into a business where I'm naturally going on my own. These are things that I've learned, and just picked up. I mean, when I started in the industry, nobody really taught me, how to do the things I do. I was just curious. I was asking the right questions. I was spending the right time with the right people. And if you look, at the moment, it's never been easier for anybody to pick up a skill. If YouTube, for instance, I mean, you look at all the people, the guys that you've had on your podcast. I mean, Daniel Daggers, those guys I look up to, and I watch a lot of what they're doing in the luxury market, and I just try and put my spin on that, going forward. So yeah, the graft needs to come with it, to get you through the front door initially, and then it's how you look after it from there.
You bang on about YouTube as well. Just to let you know, there's a new estate agent coach on YouTube at the minute called Matt Giggs. Feel free to download and subscribe. But no, seriously, you're right about Daniel Daggers. I mean, I've been following him for 5 or 6 years, and reached out to him just before lockdown. We got to meet up, and he's kindly come onto the podcast and kept in touch. And I think great agents, and I think, David, we've met quite a few already, they want to learn and collaborate. They want to share. They want to experience what other people are doing well, but equally not try and be somebody else, because they understand that they've got the gifts themselves and the unique skills, which they can broaden out through their own values and businesses. So I think you're right. There's so much good stuff out there to go and watch. And it's good to see you taking that action.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about find a country, and I used to come to a lot of the conferences, and a lot of people sit in the room and write things down, but it's the 1% of people that actually put that into action going forward that will actually progress into getting the results. And I would sit in a lot of these conferences, and I wouldn't necessarily write 100 things down, but there was always 4 to 5 things that I could implement into what I did to improve. And every day is a learning day for me, but I have to make sure that I'm constantly learning. And there's far better people out there in the industry than me. So I need to make sure that I sort of, watch what's happening so that I can advise my clients, but also bring the value to my marketing style and the area that I operate in. So yeah, Daniel Daggers, he's a phenomenal operator, and I enjoyed listening to what he's doing, and he's taking it to the next level again. So yeah, he's somebody that's inspired me for sure.
So going back a second, you said something that was really interesting. You said about your videos are high production value, they're size large, aren't they? And that for you is your shop front. That is what attracts people in. And then all the way down to, because I think there could be a perception that's, come on to that in a minute maybe, that that's what the job is. It's swanking around these posh houses in front of the camera and so on. But you get back down to the reality of it, and you and your team are still door knocking, things like that. Talk to me about that. How do you approach that? Because that's one of these subjects, a bit like leafleting, that some people are very for, some people are very against. What's your approach to it?
If you don't do it, you don't have a business model in my eyes. So, I wouldn't say that, I'm the best at doing it, but obviously I'm on a journey where I've got myself so far by doing these things. So I spend a lot of time listening to people like Tom Panos, the Australian models of how they do it. You've got to find the niche of what works for you. Direct mail is something that has worked very well for us. Not everybody's comfortable door knocking. I've won, properties in excess of $1 million, which is expensive in my market area from knocking on a door. There was one property that, for instance, I'll tell you a story where I used to drive past a property, 4 or 5 times a month, and it's one of those that's very eye-catching. And one day, I made the effort to pull into the driveway, knock on the door, give my business card to the owner, and say, look, I know you're not ready to sell. I know you're probably not ever looking to sell, but if you ever do, this is me. This is who we are. I'd love the opportunity just to showcase what we do. And then about 8 weeks later, they came back to me, and it's a property that we've got on our books at the moment at 1.35 million. So it does work, but you just need to find your niche and what you're comfortable in doing, and stick consistent with that, and the results will come.
I think one of the things I pick up from is your authenticity. Like, to get out of your car and to go and do that, I think it's because you genuinely looked at it and thought, this is a home that I'm going to sell, or I could sell, and I genuinely believe it. I think perhaps where people can learn, perhaps looking into what you're saying today, is that you're someone who takes responsibility, even if you don't get the listing or don't win the instruction. You look at, what can I do to improve? And then you're equally aware that there's clients that you should work with, and houses that you should work with, and not. And I think that's really, I think having those boundaries and that clarity really helps you to build your business model. Would you say that's helped you over the years then?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said before, not all business is good business, and we bring a lot of value to the table. I always stress that there's no way that no other agent that brings the production to the table that we do, and there's nobody that can expose them to an audience in the short amount of time that we can as well. So we are operating now at a different level to anybody else. So I wasn't just bowing to people wanting cheap fees and expecting a cheap service. So I'm trying to create a path where that sort of stress environment where people come from selling a property and feel horrendous off the back of it. We've got over 100 5-star reviews from people now, and it's something that I pride myself in quite a lot, but we've got a long way to go. I try and be quite authentic with it, you know. And I think because I genuinely enjoy what I do, and I genuinely enjoy the clients that I work with, that it's an easier process, but it needs to be managed correctly from the outset.
So let's talk about your videos for a second then, because I asked you just before when we were off air, I asked you whether you were paid by the local tourist board or the local government to promote Pembrokeshire. Because I saw a video of yours, and I thought, hang on a minute, this looks just like one of those, you know, visit Portugal type things that you see. It really was that good. But you said something earlier, which I don't know, maybe I'll pick up on it. Maybe it's a red herring, but the quality of video that you produce, do you think that people watch that and get a misrepresentation of what it's like being in the industry? And then coming onto that, you talked as well about self-employed estate agency. And so you look on Companies House, and from the start to the end of 2022, there's 10.6% more real estate agency businesses in the UK. I think a lot of that is probably where you have more and more self-employed agents who are setting up their own limited companies, but it's still competition. What's your take on all of that as a subject? The videography, the perception it gives people, self-employed agency, and the competition that it's brought in your area?
Yeah, well, the video side of things was something that I fell into again. You know, when at my time at Fine & Country, I remember having a conversation with Simon Hawksley, because he was somebody that I looked up to quite a bit with the videos that he was doing, and at that time there wasn't anybody going to the production levels that he was, and he gave me some great advice. And yeah, when we launched Country Living Group, there was a huge gap in the market where people just aren't naturally comfortable being in front of a camera. And today, you know, I'm not 100% comfortable, but you know, I put the effort into to make sure it comes out the back end like that. But you know, each year we put out a blooper reel, and you know, just to kind of show people that I am normal. You know, it's just, if somebody's got a nice house, you know, I want to go to the extreme lengths of marketing the lifestyle of what, you know, attracted them to the property in the beginning, and whether that involves a boat or a helicopter. You know, it's always nice to have that creative freedom to be able to do that for our clients. And the more engaging you can make those videos, the more they get watched. I mean, I went down the rabbit hole of launching a TikTok channel about 12 months ago. And unless you embrace these things and put yourself out there and commit to it, you know, you never know where it's going to go. And we've got videos that have been seen 2.5 million times, and we've got 36,000 followers. You know, and it's crazy how quickly you can grow by putting yourself out there. And you know, nothing happens inside your comfort zone. So unless you're prepared to do it, you know, nothing changes if nothing changes. So for me, it's always a case of, you know, pushing the boundaries to see, you know, how far we can go with it. I've managed to introduce most things into videos. The only thing I haven't been able to do is get on a horse yet, but I'm hopeful that somebody will let me ride a horse through the grounds of some sort.
It's one for the bucket list. TikTok, just quickly on that, I've resisted it. I don't know. I've got no idea about how are you finding that. Have you got anything from it? Are the numbers off the charts? Are you seeing any business directly from it, or is it another avenue that you can tell vendors that you are promoting properties through?
So you can only imagine the conversation if I'm sitting down with someone who's sort of 50 plus, and I'm trying to talk to them about TikTok. It's never going to be the easiest conversation to convert. But yeah, for me, it's about engagement. It's about putting you in front of a different audience. For the first 6 months, I was loving it just as a platform. Really, the algorithm is far easier to crack on TikTok than it is on the likes of Facebook or Instagram. I don't know if you spoke to anyone who said the same thing, but we've managed to grow far quicker on TikTok than we have on the likes of Instagram. But you never know who's watching. You never know who's tagging who. And for me, you know, the more views, you know, it'll put you in front of the right audience. So recently, when we've had some very, very over the top views, you know, north of 2 million, which, you know, I never thought would ever be possible. I have started to get some leads coming through. Now, they're not of the best quality, but it does you know, tell you that once you get to a level, you know, people, you know, the right people are seeing what we're putting out there. But yeah, Instagram I find very hard, but we work it constantly. Facebook, we try and keep more of a sort of a polished platform, really. So a lot of our more polished videos will go onto the likes of Facebook, whereas Instagram will try and keep it more short form content. TikTok will try and also sort of vary up the content, you know, a bit quicker. You know, change up the music, that sort of thing. So we vary it across all the platforms, but you have to just fully embrace it, you know. And if you're not utilizing social media to your benefit, you know, you'll quickly get left behind. And I think that's where we've been able to sort of leapfrog a lot of people, very old hat estate agency, you know, ways that, you know, you're having to run your ideas past somebody else. And we've had approaches from other agents who are having to run ideas past corporate brands who aren't open to doing that, and they're just sort of stuck. So I think it's allowed us to sort of pull away a little bit quicker than normal, really.
There was definitely a bit of fear behind a lot of people about being left behind in those stakes, especially other agents that have got to go through the permission to do the marketing on those platforms. Just taking you away from that kind of, I suppose, that area of marketing and going back into what I'd consider to be, you being 20 years in the industry, I would imagine that you probably learn the more traditional methods of selling a property, speaking to people, the good old-fashioned telephone call or meeting somebody to go through the details or whatever. How much of your sales would you say are made through prospecting the right buyer, by finding the right buyer for one of your properties because you've built up your database well enough with enough contact to be able to understand people's needs?
One major tool that we utilize is WhatsApp. I don't know if you've spoken to a lot of people who are using WhatsApp. WhatsApp for me is an absolute game changer. The ability to talk to somebody quickly in a different country, it does speed up the whole process. So WhatsApp is a huge part of what we do. Especially for the sort of client care, the quality around sort of looking after your current stock as well, but also with buyers, having that quick access. People want to consume content quickly, but they want access to properties quickly as well. So social media for me has allowed me to put properties out there pre-market. So we built up quite a following from me posting properties before they go to the market, which I know a lot of agents have started to do and will do. And I think that's where I always say this, but I think in 5 to 10 years time, social media will overtake the likes of Rightmove, because people want access to properties quickly. Video content is so big that you can reach 10,000 people in 24 hours. So
yeah, and I think the reverse of that, like Rightmove, you're in amongst hundreds of thousands of properties, whilst with social media and done well with targeting and those kind of things, you can literally put the right property under the right buyer's nose. So
yeah, 100%. We've just sale agreed a property just shy of $1 million from a 30-second reel that we did, which in years gone by would never be the case. But unless you're doing it, unless you're consistent with it, and that wasn't a sort of presenter-led video. It was just it was a 30-40-second reel where people can consume content quickly, but they get access to working out whether the property suits. And for us, it's become quality over quantity, and a lot of people are and coming off the back of COVID, where people were making decisions from distance. We were getting a lot of buyers coming from outside of area, traveling to Pembrokeshire to buy property. So my marketing stance is I market properties to the best possible standard and give people access to tools that will allow people to make that decision, so that they know they like the property. Then it's just a question of whether they emotionally connect with the property when they're physically there. So a lot of the legwork is done with the marketing that we do, professional photos, the video content. Everything's put out there for people to consume, because we're always the last people that they come to, right? You find a property online, you'll do your own research, you'll drive around the area. Once they've made the decision that they like the property, then they come to the agent at the last port of call. So yeah, for us, it's making sure that people have access to as much content as possible to work out whether they're going to buy the property or not.
A question for you, James. So if you were talking to an agent today about videography and they were about to embark on that whole world, and they're on the fence about whether they're going to present those properties themselves or just do the video tour, a high quality, high caliber videography tour, or whether they're going to be a presenter-led agency like you are, what would you say to that person, and what difference does that make to your business?
I suppose somebody needs to have a why and what where they want to take their career, really. I mean, I've got guys that work for me that are just not comfortable being on camera, but that's nothing against them. It's just for me, I feel unless I went down that route, I was going to get left behind. So for me, because nobody else is willing to do the things that I do, it puts me on a pedestal against everybody else. So I always say that at the point where people stop copying you, that's when you should be worried. So as long as I'm the one sort of pushing the boundaries and putting myself out there, then naturally I'm going to give myself the best chance of being successful. So I'm trying to work with my guys to kind of get them in front of the camera, which it will come. I mean, when I first started, it was I was like a rabbit in front of a headlight. I mean, it is difficult to put someone in front of a camera and try to act normal. It's not a normal thing. So yeah, you have to work at it really. But if you don't step out your comfort zone, magical things don't happen. And even me being on a podcast like this today, I mean, and 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would never have done anything like this. But you just got to put yourself in the situations where you just don't know what's going to happen, and that's what it comes down to for me.
Constant growth. And I think one of the things it's quite interesting actually, and I think there's a lot of agents that will be looking at you at the minute going, I'd love to be doing what he's doing, but follow James. Go and look at his socials, see what we're talking about, because there's a reason why he's on here. So you should do that. How do guys follow your particular accounts? Is it the Country Living Group in Pembrokeshire on the Instagram?
At Country Living Group, so on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah.
See what he's doing, because what he's doing is working, and it's the authenticity throughout the brand, the consistency of the work that's going about it that shows you how going from where you were to where you are has been a constant evolvement of going outside of your comfort zone. I think that's where people need to really embrace that rather than fearful.
It's very easy to get distracted with social media. I've tried to be quite disciplined with the fact that social media is for content production rather than content consumption. We talk about TikTok. You're watching a video on an estate agency. Next thing you're watching a video about golf. It's that easy to go down that rabbit hole of distraction. So yeah, I try to make sure that the time I spent on social media is going to be a productive activity that will either bring business back or get us noticed. And if you can get that balance right, that helps hugely.
And so how has it changed your business then? So Country Living Group's been running for 3 years now. How's that changed your business in terms of where your leads are coming from? Has that changed from when you started the business to where you are now? And what does that look like today? Where's your biggest source of leads?
So when I first started, I started with nothing. I had a cold database. I was known by a lot of people, but I quickly got that mindset of it's not what you know, it's who knows you. So I was putting myself out there as much as possible. When we first launched, we put out a launch video, which we put a big budget behind to get in front of people, and that helped massively for us to be noticed and a new agent on the scene. The leads. Now we've pushed more into becoming a bit more of an attraction agent. So the first 3 years have been solid graft. I'm not gonna lie, it's been quite difficult, and especially going through something like COVID. But I think COVID, because of the video elements that we put in place in the beginning, allowed us to sort of push, through and sort of the spotlight was on us in a big way. So yeah, a lot of people were looking to us for the video content for the properties that they couldn't get access to in person. So that helped massively. But yeah, the leads are coming organically. But I always say that you're always at your most vulnerable position when you're at your most successful point. So it's important that you don't take your foot off the gas. So obviously we're in a position where I think I'm quite lucky to be where we are at the moment. It's so important that you keep grinding behind the scenes, the direct mail, the contact that So if you get to the point where you take your foot off the gas, naturally everyone will catch up with you and you'll get caught out. So it's really important to make sure that you keep that discipline behind the scenes as well.
I love that quote, by the way. That's just been ringing around in my head as you've been talking. It's not what you know, it's who knows you.
Yeah.
And then it's what you're known for by those people, right? And I think what you've done is you've built that reputation very quickly. Within 2-3 years, it's amazing progress. It really, isn't it?
It is amazing progress.
So
any agent out there, if they put themselves out there, wonderful things do happen. You've got to work hard, keep the basics, consistent, and video. If you're not doing video, video is the one thing I would say that's got me where I am really. So, and I'm always looking to better what we do, with the next videos. And yeah, it's very hard to stay inspired, but I think a lot of people who try and replicate what we do keeps my pencil sharp, which is great, really.
Strange question for you, James. If you were going to start the Country Living Group again, or more to the point, you're at day one of starting your own business there, you've made the jump.
Yeah.
What mistakes have you made between then and now that you would say to someone, this is something that I could have done differently, this is something that I regret doing, I wasted some time here, I got caught up in this and it wasn't important. Looking back over that 3-year period, is there anything that stands out to you that you think, I could have done that differently?
Yeah, I think everyone's journeys are different when they launch them. And for me, I went from being employed for 17 years to suddenly completely on my own, not really knowing which direction to go. I knew I could sell houses, and I knew I was good at forming relationships. Yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons out there, but the thing for me really was just backing myself 100%. I knew, I was selling luxury property for a brand, and then I went from selling for a brand to doing it myself. So I think a lot of people struggle to manage the freedom around being self-employed, and I think that's the key part of it, is making sure you got your structures down, keeping to your basics, just grinding hard, putting the calls in, putting the prospecting in. If you structure your diary in the right way, and you manage your time well, the results will come in time. But I think people expect it overnight, and I've been going out for 3 years, and I still think I got a huge way to go yet. So I think there's loads of lessons that I've learned, staffing, when you take on staff, what kind of staff do you need? It's all been a learning curve for me, really, and especially with the core brand agency. Once you get to the position of, you feel like you're plateauing, you can't do any more than you're doing. You've only got one pair of hands. There's only so much time in the day. Staffing is a key part of making, success follow. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but every day's a learning curve for me, for sure.
Very diplomatic answer. I like it.
He gave enough away.
Awesome. So, James, at the end of every podcast, we have our bit of a closing tradition where, whether you know it or not, you, along with everybody else, has their very own porn star name, which is a combination of your middle name and your first pet's name. I got that right this time, didn't I?
Combination. Yeah. We've toyed around with different ways.
So, what's yours?
Oliver Frankie, mine is.
Oliver Frankie.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's not too bad.
It's pretty tame.
Elaine's was close, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was now.
No,
it was
no,
weird.
it was
Still nothing on Kevin Tiny.
No, Kevin Tiny's the best one. But I just want to say congratulations. Keep up the great work. Thanks for coming on and spending, up to an hour of your time today sharing value for people that are going to be entering the premium market or who are already in the premium market.
That's it.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all.
Just say thank you as well, mate. It's been it's awesome to see what you're doing now. We worked together years and years ago, back when we were both in F&C, and to see the success that you're having now and leading the way, especially on the videography front, is just awesome. So congratulations and thank you so much for your time today. Really, really appreciate it.
Cheers, James.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. And everyone, thank you so much for watching this somewhat special online edition. The things we do for you, James, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Our online edition of Property Porn Stars. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, follow. And if there are any guests that you'd like to see on the podcast, then let us know. But actually, we're fully booked now. We're recording in October and we're fully booked now till January with some awesome guests. So if you haven't subscribed, do so now so you don't miss out on those. Until the next one, see you then.
See you soon.